Welcome back, viewers. In this video, we're talking about phone collection. And one of the questions that was asked on LinkedIn is, how do you address privacy concern when collecting somebody's phone data? Now, the person who asked this question is Rahul, and I think it would be appropriate we have him join our conversation. Rahul, welcome to the channel.
Nick, thank you for having me. I am really excited.
Yes, thank you for asking the question, because that actually made me think about this. You know, like before COVID started, we used to have people come to the office with phones, and then they bring their phone, they hand it over to a forensic person, they would plug it in, data gets copied, they get the phone back and they walk out, right? But we haven't really thought about how those people feel, right? We kind of become sanitized to this, like we don't care, yeah, next, come in, let's do it, right? But to a person, to hand over their entire life, right, on their phone, I mean, that's kind of a big deal, like what's your experience there? Like, why did you ask a question? I'm sure you have a relevant situation that prompted you to ask this.
No, absolutely, Nick. And I see this happen more oftentimes, that people are really concerned because, like you said, their life is in this phone, right? So they're like, okay, I have to comply with the subpoena or this litigation, but what are you doing with my data? Like, I have my entire personal life on my phone. What happens to that private stuff? Is somebody looking at it? Where's it going to go? Who's going to save it? And I've had clients even ask, like, okay, if your vendor is keeping the image, what if they have a data breach? Will I be notified? With, how does it happen, and what's going to happen to all my data? And it's a tough way to explain things to them. There's no easy answer.
And the phones actually store more personal and more sensitive data than people's computers now, right? On your
Absolutely.
phone, there is everything. Your computer, you could be, yeah, whatever, take it. I barely use that thing, right? I just remote to work. But my phone, that's the sensitive part. And I think the bigger question comes up here is when you have personal data along with data that needs to be collected. You can't always collect just what's needed for litigation, right? There's some situations, like on Android devices, you can do targeted collection, but on some devices, you have to acquire everything. So it's that separation between personal and work-related stuff that I think is really hits people, like, wait, you're grabbing everything? So with that in mind, I want to ask you a question. It's going to be a personal question, if that's okay. So think about your phone.
Right.
What would be, so you have like text messages, you have your pictures, you have maybe some application. What would you feel most uncomfortable about handing over? And I'll answer it myself while you think about it.
Okay.
All right, how's that? So
that sounds good.
So for me, I kind of have very boring life. So if somebody gets a hold of my text messages, I text my family members, maybe some friends, you can read it all day long. In fact, if somebody publishes all my text messages online, I wouldn't care. Same thing for pictures, right? If somebody puts them out there, like my family pictures, right? Places where I've been, not a big deal. My concern would be, and it may be, may not actually be reasonable concern, but it would be like about financial applications, right? Like the banking app, the credit cards, right? We don't know what it stores locally, right? There might be cache files, there may be all kinds of pieces stored. And that's probably the only thing I wouldn't want people to have access to. All my other stuff, like I could care less if my pictures make it online. I don't have anything inappropriate. So I'm like that. I have boring life, and I don't really have anything like either illegal or inappropriate on my phone. What about you?
I think we share that, Nick. I have a pretty boring life too, but I think some of my stuff that I would not like to go out, or I wouldn't call it embarrassing, but I have young kids. So I have a lot of goofy stuff, like pictures with them, videos doing really, really goofy stuff that I don't know if I would like it going out in the world. That's one. And then, I talk with my wife a lot in text. So there's a lot of personal private data there that it might be stupid stuff, but then it might be really personal stuff. And then I'm part of certain groups, like, I have some WhatsApp groups with my college buddies where we're just bantering, having fun, right? I don't think, I don't think there's anything inappropriate, but, it might rub somebody the wrong way.
Yeah, and it would be like inappropriate to share and stuff. Yeah, totally understand it. Yep. All right, got it. So do you have any sort of stories where um, people who had their phone needed collected, like where they sort of freaked out or they were like, wait, what? Did anything like that happen?
Yes, I have. I'll share this one story where we had to collect somebody's phone, and they were involved in the litigation, and they were really willing to cooperate. But this person was really sensitive about their data, their private data on the phone, and it started with me telling them we need to collect your phone, and him asking me questions like, "What's going to happen? Are you going to collect only the relevant stuff or everything?" And then I started explaining, we imaged the phone. He was not comfortable. So, it sort of escalated from him to his general counsel to my partner. So, things sort of got inflated. So, we had to really sit down and explain it to them. You know what? There's no easy answer, but we work with professionals. These people do this day in and day out. They're not going to look at your data, right? We have NDAs in place. We have master services agreements in place. We have also gone to the extent where people, especially if we're collecting like personal emails from a phone or from a cloud device, or from a cloud account, we will have them sit next to the forensic expert and just see them work. It gives them a sense of comfort level talking to that person, and the forensic person ends up explaining the process, like what they're going to do, how it's going to work. And I think that helps. At the end of the day, people are just concerned about, like, is my lawyer going to read this stuff? That is not relevant. Like, I don't want them. Don't want this stuff out there. And that's also, it's a very hard sell to the client, but we try.
Yeah, and I think having sit with forensic person who's going to be doing the actual collection and developing a little bit of relationship, having a conversation, talking it out, like, look, here's what I'm going to do. This is going to take an iPhone backup, which is going to get parsed by this program. And once we have that, we'll pull this out, we'll do so and so. And that's how you kind of start to develop this comfort with the client. Now, the story I have is actually deals with collecting of a mailbox, not even entire phone, just a mailbox. And I was on a phone call with an attorney and a custodian, and we were collecting work-related mailbox. And the custodian says, wait, what? You're going to do what? And attorney goes, yeah, don't worry about it. It's your work stuff. We're just going to download it. Not a big deal. He goes, no, I only have one email in my life, one email account ever, and it's my work account. So we're like, really? Okay. Well, we're going to collect it. He's like, no, my mortgage documents are in there, my kids' photographs, my credit card statements, everything, my entire life is in there. I'm going to go and start deleting them. And the attorney goes, whoa, don't you use that word, right? Once you don't go down that road, And so that led into the same conversation, right? We had to explain to them what the process is, that this is a litigation, this is a work email. I mean, you probably shouldn't have been using work email for personal stuff. And so we went to that conversation. But yeah, that's how sensitive people are to their personal stuff is
Amazing.
It's crazy. But they are right to be concerned with all different data leaks and companies getting hacked, who wants their stuff, shared online.
No, absolutely. One thing I would add to that, Nick, is like, so what I have started suggesting is for our phone collections, mostly what we are doing is it's usually to have a forensic track record, right? Everything was done right. Why are we doing it? So I have also suggested clients where, we're only interested in certain text messages or WhatsApp chats, I have suggested that we use methodologies that I normally would not suggest, like, screenshotting, exporting to text, and using those. And then to make sure we preserve the data, either we have a forensic vendor collect the device and give the copy of that device to the client. They can lock it up and keep it. So we have a preservation record, they keep it. Or if they're not comfortable with that collection, they can just put their phone in the drawer, buy a new phone. So, we still have a preservation track record.
Yes, so that's actually one of the things I was going to address. And there's an interesting way I've seen some companies deal with this is they create, let's say, an iPhone backup or some kind of forensic image of the phone, which is locked with client's password. And then that goes onto a hard drive that's encrypted by forensic company. So now you have two levels of encryption. And basically what you need in that case, both people have to be present in the same room. Each one has to enter their own password. Data is accessible. Then the forensic person can pull the relevant data out, save it somewhere, close both containers, and then custodian can take their data and take it with them. And one cool thing it guarantees is that custodian will not be able to modify their data. So even though you give them their data, it's still encrypted, so they can't get into it. The only thing they can do is they can delete it, well, which is going to be pretty obvious. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah, I think this is the probably the best solution I've seen. And since we're talking of solutions, right, we explain to clients that their NDA is signed, that everyone's professional. We're dealing with the volumes of data, day-to-day basis, right? No one's going to sit there and look at your text messages. No one's interested. No one even has time for that, right? So the other thing I've seen people do is, people used to do it, not so much anymore, but some people still have two phones, work and personal. And if there's any kind of issues at work, they just take their phone and they go, here you go, take everything you want. I have no problems, go. And my personal phone has no work-related data whatsoever. I don't text coworkers, don't do anything like that. Just take it and go, do whatever you want. So I think that's for people who are really, really sensitive and they may be working in an environment where they could be anticipating something like that. Which, again, I don't know what the situation would be when you anticipate something like that.
I couldn't agree more, Nick. I always tell, if I am speaking to clients who are sensitive, I always tell them right now, this is where we are, but going forward, I would suggest to use two separate phones, one for work, one for personal reasons. And I'm in the same boat. I have two phones. I have one for work, one for personal.
Okay, no, I consolidated to one because it's just too much. You got to charge both phones. You don't know which one's ringing. You got to pull it out, right? But I think that that addresses our point pretty well. To summarize, right? Develop the relationship with the client, sit down, talk to them, explain what it is, get the paperwork signed. If needed, work on that double encrypted locker system if that's required. And go from there. I mean, be sensitive to people, just think of it, what if it was your phone that's being collected? Because again, I never think like that. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick. Empathy goes a long way, and that human relationship of that forensic tech or the project manager with the client, it helps you get across the finish line.
Yep. All right, Rahul, thank you very much for joining me on this video. Viewers, if you have any questions, comments, put them in the comment section below. We would love to continue our conversation there. If you have more ideas, how to work with clients, how to deal with difficult, sensitive clients, please, comments are always welcome. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you, Nick.